And again, welcome again to the October 2023 meeting of the Jeffries Point Planning and Zoning Subcommittee, also known as the P&Z. I would like to introduce the board members who are present. I am Andrew Pike. I'll be leading the meeting this evening and also handling the chat. And then Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Huang. I'll be doing the slides. Carolina.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you.
And Carolina will be observing this evening and piping in whenever she likes. We also have Dennis Sullivan, who is a member of our Planning and Zoning subcommittee, which I do see. If Dennis, if you'd like to say hi, you're welcome to do so.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for taking the time this evening to walk us through this.
Nice seeing you last night, Dennis.
Likewise. Yeah, that was great.
And I don't see anyone else. If there's another board member here that I'm not seeing, forgive me. I don't seem to see anybody. We do have a few people still joining us, and I will do my best to add those people as we continue with the meeting, but we should get started. Again, there are only 2 projects this evening. However, we do ask that the projects keep to the 30-minute time period, so enough time for slides and then questions afterwards, and then we'll move to the next project. Susan, if you'd like to bring up is it 112 Marginal first, or yes? Okay.
Great. Hi, Andrew. How are
Hi.
you? It's Jeff Drago.
Hey, how are you, Jeff? Feel free to go ahead.
Okay. Great. Thanks again. And thanks for having us. Again, this is our first meeting before the JPNA and a project at 112 Marginal Street. I also have the developer, Tom Falcucci, who's here as part of our development team. I own this building with Tom, and I also have Eric Zackerson, who's the architect on the project. Just what you're looking at is a rendering in this building, the higher building next to the blue building that's 112 Marginal Street. And we purchased the building a little under a year ago. It was a family home. It was in desperate need of repair. And it still does need a lot of work. We did make repairs, put updated kitchens and baths, and we're able to get 2 good sets of tenants in there. And so this project, we know obviously is a long way down the road, just in the way permitting process works. So the building is currently occupied now with 2 sets of tenants. This building historically was used by one family. They had obviously they were living on 2 separate floors. They were relatives for years. The building at one point was assessed as a 3-family. It is an existing 3-story building that we're proposing to infill in the back and add a 4th story on the existing structure. We're proposing to keep the structure. Then later on, it was assessed as a 2-family. That's its current assessment right now. And that's really how it's laid out, as a 2. However, there was no record of a certificate of occupancy. So as part of this project, we would actually be establishing a certificate of occupancy on the building as well. So if we could go to the next slide, please. And so this is, again, just a front view of Eric's rendering of the proposed building. Next to, there's a 3-unit to the right of us and a 3-unit to the left, a 4-story newer building that I know went through a recent process with this group. And so if we go to the next slide. Next slide, please. There we go. So it's to obviously change the occupancy because there was no established occupancy. So they gave us 1. And to change that to a 4-unit, adding a 4th story addition, infilling the back, and then completely renovating the building. This particular sub-district is a 3F2000, although there's a multitude of different structures around us. There's 3s, there's 4s as you start going in either direction. Pierce Park is directly across the street. The lot size is 1,200 square feet. Next slide, please. And so this is just an aerial view for context, you can see where it's located directly across from the park. Next slide, please. And so that's a front view of the existing 3-story structure. And you can just, these are existing condition photos as it stands right now. Next slide, please. And so this is the building 2 down from us that recently was started construction. It's a 4-story building, parking on the first floor, I believe, and then 3 developable spaces above it, or units above it on the corner. Next slide, please. And so this is our zoning summary chart. So obviously we're very early in this process. We have our butter meeting. It just fell on the same night. So after we have this meeting at 8 o'clock, Nella from the mayor's office will be holding the direct butter meeting after. But so the variances that we'd be seeking are listed in the zoning summary chart here. So this, and just a couple of added ones, this does fall under GCOD just because of its location. So groundwater trust would also kick in, and so that would also be part of this. We're not proposing any livable space in the basement, so and we would have plans that would meet the GCOD specifications. We would be proposing an increase in FAR. So the FAR would be 3.1. So we would need a variance for FAR. Building height, we're proposing 41 feet 8 inches. And so what's allowable is 35 and 3 stories. So we would need height variances. For open space, obviously we're not going farther back than what's existing now. So our open space wouldn't change, so it's existing and it would remain, but it's a pre-existing violation. So at 248 square feet, just to note, we're not proposing any roof decks on this structure as well. Front yard and side yard and rear yard are all pre-existing, and we're not changing that. So that would remain at 4'10" in the back. The first level of this property already bumps out. We were proposing to infill it on top, and we'll show you that as we get further into the plans. Obviously, we're keeping the structure, so we're not able to create parking. Although total, we're adding 2 additional bedrooms from what's already there as we change this, if we were to get approved and change the occupancy of the building. So, and obviously we're short walk to Maverick T Station as well, which makes it great for folks that commute. Next slide, please. And so these are just the existing floor plans. And Eric, please, if you want to chime in, or you want me to keep going.
You're right ahead. You're cruising. Let me know if I'm here.
Okay, so these are just the existing floor plans. So existing basement, there's no livable space in the basement. It's just storage area and mechanical. Unit 1 does have, it's used as a 1-bedroom now, but at some point it was used as a 2, but that is an existing 1-bedroom. And then on the 2nd and 3rd floor, that houses the livable space, which is unit 2, and that has an upper level and a lower level with 2 bedrooms. Next slide, please. And so, Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you here, and you can start going.
Yep. Thank you. This is a site plan to show kind of the how the building is going to sit on the site. So Marginal Street is across the bottom of the page, and then you see the sidewalk with the existing building there. And then the hatched area in the rear is the proposed cantilever and addition. Next slide. So the first floor is pretty straightforward. Walk in, you have a living room, kitchen, and a bedroom at the rear. It's kind of a deep space, so with the addition, there will be an office behind the bedroom. Next slide. And then up above, you'll enter into the kind of proper living room and kitchen in the front, and there are 2 bedrooms in the rear. Given the kind of long, narrow configuration, you kind of have 2 doors next to each other. The door on the right would lead directly to bedroom 2, and the door on the left would lead to bedroom other bedroom, which would be much further down. And then between the kitchen and the 2 bedrooms is a kind of what we call a family scale bathroom. So it's kind of what you would often see in a primary suite: two vanities, a tub, and a toilet. Next slide. The third floor is where things get a little bit different, where we show off. In the front, we have a bedroom with a stair leading up, and that's unit 3. And in the back, we've got the lower level of unit 4. On unit 4, at this level, you've got the living area and the kitchen with its own, and then both of them have an internal stair to the level above. Next slide. And then on top here, we have kind of the inverse, where the rear unit has its bedrooms on the top and the front unit has it living kitchen on the lower portion. Next slide. Yeah, and then the elevations. And so basically we wanted to use a lot of the similar kind of language and scale of what we see on this area of of East Boston, where we've got the wider window on the right, and then some windows that kind of relate to the scale of the stair on the left. We're going to do this mostly out of just horizontal plank siding. The first floor, we want to retain the brick that's there and kind of accentuate that as a nod to what building has been passed. Next slide. Yeah, and then so the drawing on the left here shows the rear of the building, how that cantilever and the back windows are going to look. And then on the drawing on the right here, you see the west elevation and its relationship to its neighbor, which is the diagonally hash. We kind of did that, showed that building's kind of cut section, and this shows how our building is that 1 story taller. And then goes to about the same length as the neighbor to the side. Next slide.
I think that may
That's
be
the
it.
last slide.
Okay.
And we actually have, and I apologize that we made a few changes. We have a rear rendering. It's not in this slide deck. If you want, I can share it on my own, or if it comes up, if you folks would allow me to share. We just got it in today, so.
Okay. One thing before we move to any questions, Jeff, if you would ask the next time that your staff flyers, if they could use a link shortening tool to provide the link on the document, or just recommend that they go to the Jeffries Point website
Okay.
one week prior, because the way that it was flyered, which it was flyered great, I saw it everywhere, so that we always love. However, the link that was there was so astronomically long and complicated that no one would ever be able to like write that down and put that in their computer. So the city uses Bitly, where it just, you can shorten the link, or again, it's going to be on our website 1 week prior, so you can even just put that.
Okay.
You don't have to have the link on the flyer. So I just wanted to mention that to you.
Sure.
Let's open up to questions from direct abutters. And again, we're going on the honor system here. So if you think you are a direct abutter, and Mike Dwyer, I know you are, if you'd like to go ahead, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So obviously, this property is going to have a major effect on our home and on our tenants. So I've got a number of questions. A major effect is going to be a major expense too, because obviously this can't be done without a lawyer. My first question is, this property is in a flood resiliency zoning overlay district. And according to those regulations, the habitable area, the first floor habitable area has to be above a certain elevation. And is the first floor of this property above that? It's called
It is. Sorry,
Yeah.
it is, but it also falls under a G cod, meaning it's the groundwater trust. So if whenever you put mechanicals in the basement, all of your water and sewer plans all have to meet, because this obviously what's existing is existing, that would be grandfathered in. But as you would update, you would have to go through a very extensive engineering process with water and sewer department to make sure it meets all of those G cod specifications. So there is a lot of work that goes into that and the planning process, and all of the mechanicals have to be elevated of a certain degree, your drainage system, all of that has to be updated.
And your plan encompasses that.
It will, yes. So before we can even get to the zoning board, because it triggers GCOD, we have to have water and sewer plans from a civil engineer that meet all of the GCOD specifications. They have to be signed off not only by water and sewer, but also signed off by by GCOD, the Groundwater Trust, Christian Simonelli. So we would not be able to move forward if they do not meet all that specification.
Okay. It was my impression that this was in the resiliency flood zone. According to the map, I've asked the city for clarification of that, and I'm waiting for an answer. So there's not much else I can say. I just have a story. You've been given they've certified it as a 1-family, but you're renting it out already as a 2-family. Why is that?
So it's existing as a 2, right? So it's always been used as a 2. It doesn't have any occupancy. So the long form has it as a 3 at one point and a 2. There's just no CO. So in order to establish that, they made it a 1. And then as we go through the process.
Why did they do that if you're renting it as a 2-family?
It's, they came out, they inspected, but they're not going to change it because we're going through a process. If we weren't going through this process, they would come out and establish it.
Jeff, what is the most recent long form occupancy state?
So the most recent long form is a 2.
Okay. So what I was always under the impression and been told by other attorneys that is what the city considers its occupancy.
And they can, if we weren't going through this process, then they would have to come out, just inspect it and make it a 2. But where we're going through this whole process and changing it, it's inapplicable.
Okay.
Okay. Now, obviously, there's a firewall. Common wall between these 2 buildings is a firewall, and there's also 2 chimneys. And as I understand it, the regulations for chimneys are that they must be 2 feet above any roof structure within 10 feet of the chimney. Do you have plans to extend the chimneys on our buildings?
I would turn that over to Eric or Tom, who's the contractor and developer. So
in my experience, we do end up doing something like that. We're working with you to figure out how to mitigate that. Yeah. It's not uncommon, and we can work with you on that.
Something has to be done. I mean, the chimneys cannot stay the way they are.
Correct.
They're actually part of the house. The 2 houses.
And your building is on the left side of 116, or is it?
It's 116.
The right side.
Okay, yeah, if you're coming up, yeah, okay. So we'd be happy to meet with you directly on that as well.
Yeah, I would definitely talk to you about certain about what mitigation is on the table, because this is going to be very disruptive to us, our tenants. It's going to be costly and ongoing, because I know the project probably won't take off for a while, but once it gets started, we're talking 9 months to a year of constant construction.
That's and that's probably a year, 9 months to a year, but that's when we get permitted, or if we get permitted. Obviously, this has a full, you're talking 1.5 to 2 years to even get to that point.
Okay, well that reassures me. We have a slight death sentence retrieval there. Yeah, I mean, this building, 4 stories, it's going to cut off the light in our back rooms. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, but there are major problems here. It's kind of funny looking. It's way longer than it is.
Jeff, have you done a shadow study?
So we haven't yet.
Well, I don't have to. I just have to look up.
I understand, Mike, but it's something where you can see the specific.
Yeah, and Eric just recently performed a shadow study for a building he designed 2 down from us. That's the new 4 stories. So we'd be happy at the next P&Z meeting to bring that and have that done.
If you want to formalize it, but I know what it's going to be. The sun sets earlier because of the 64 Haines Street project, and now it's going to be cut off completely. but that's just the way life is. A problematic thing, maybe it's just extraneous, but what are you doing for fire escapes? You're gonna sprinkle this? You're gonna have a
Yes, for this
sprinkler system? You're gonna have a-
four-story building, this will be completely sprinkled, yes.
Okay, because there's no fire escape now, and I'm kind of surprised that ISD or your insurance company hasn't made a point of that.
Yeah,
So,
I
Eric, you
agree.
wanna touch upon that?
No, I agree. As a as a two-family, if we were to build this today, it would have the second unit would have a second means of egress. But as a 3 or 4 family, we can likely do it on a single staircase as long as the building is fully sprinkled. So
Yeah.
this will enhance the life safety of the existing property.
Okay,
And the building as it stands, when we purchased it, I mean, we cleaned it up, we updated it, made it livable, but the floors are bowed in the back. It needs extensive work, whether
know.
this project was happening or not, so.
I know how these buildings are. I've been inside that building before you bought it. And I know that you had painters in there. Okay,
And
I
Mike,
think
we're gonna
everybody
need
questions-
Mike, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're gonna need to limit you to one more question
Yeah.
because there are
no,
other.
I don't have any more questions. I
Okay.
know those are my concerns right now. It's preliminary, and I'm sure as time goes on, as the process evolves, I probably will be in touch with Mr. Drago, with my lawyer, as this plays out.
And I can put, Mike, my information in the chat if you don't have it already.
I'll get it.
Thanks,
Okay,
Jeff.
thank you.
Jay, if you'd like to go ahead.
Hi, Michael pretty much answered or asked and got the answers for many of my questions. But as a project moves forward, and if it does get approved, what would the hours of construction be?
So they would, obviously, as part of this, we would put a construction management plan together. And that would talk about things like police detail and cleanup, and all of that. All of the hours would just fall under what's allowable by the city. So everything would stop at 6 p.m. And then, so that's it, Monday through Friday. So
And what
that is
time do they start, please?
it's 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay. And also, in regards to the design of the building, I mean, granted, it's going to be a new construction, but the way that it looks now, it totally looks foreign compared to anything else on the block. Is there anything that can
Absolutely.
be done?
Sure. And again, this is just suggestion. This is the time that we're open to comments. And if
Okay.
folks want to see something more like traditional, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Obviously, it needs to be completely cleaned up, whether we were having this project over time or not. But we are very open to design suggestions where we also, if this project keeps moving forward, would be required to go through what's called a BPDA, or Boston Planning Development Agency design review. So even whatever was approved, they would also look at things like doors and window treatments and exterior and any landscaping. So,
Well, I'm definitely in favor for a different design and something more in keeping with the existing buildings that are there. You know, for instance, the bay windows instead of like this flat exterior.
okay.
I'm interested. I don't know if you can share my screen.
Can we share?
Because
That's great.
in a way, we were really trying to play off of the existing building. We were reusing this kind of window scale, reusing the brick, trying to make the top 3 floors kind of something cohesive with that. So I was really, I'm not sure. I mean, we can do something different. Clearly, I was just a little surprised to hear that you felt like it didn't fit in when we were just taking some of the elements that are already on the building and reusing those.
Okay, thank you for your comment. That's all I have to say.
Okay, no, and we're happy to work on it some more too. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that I understand what Jay is saying, is that, even these buildings don't necessarily, as they are, conform to many of the the other buildings in the area, and it would be nice to see possibly something like that, similar to what's being done on the corner of Haynes and Marginal Street, where they have put some bay windows and things like that that are more similar to some of the majority of the rest of the buildings in the neighborhood. I don't mean to speak for you, Jay, but I feel like that might be what you're saying.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. We did. My firm did actually design that one on Haynes too.
Right. Yep. I did want to ask: is this slated for rental or home ownership?
It's obviously now we've got folks living there, so we wouldn't, they're under lease right now, so it's going to remain rental for this whole process for years. But I mean, when you're done, when you're done, we would like to make these condominiums.
Okay, and when you sell these condominiums, will you be selling the top floor with roof rights? I understand you're not going to put a roof deck. However, will you be selling it with roof rights?
We haven't. It didn't come up. It wasn't even on our thought because we didn't.
Because roof rights essentially means the roof deck is going to happen.
Yeah, no, I don't. Our intention was not to have a roof deck, or we would have applied for it. We felt that, just given the height, asking, trying to get that fourth unit, which really helps with construction, and it's got great views. We would not have roof rights, but.
Okay. And Eric, if you wouldn't mind unsharing your screen, that would be great. Or whoever it was, sorry. Sorry, I just couldn't see the rest of the Zoom. That's all. It looks like Jay, you're all set, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Next up was Caitlin. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Hey, hi everyone. It's really good to see you. I am Caitlin. I'm abutting directly behind the property. Thank you for the presentation. As I'm directly behind it, you mentioned that you do have a rear view. Would you be able to just share that real quick?
Yeah, Andrew, is it okay? And I apologize. It's just an updated. Would it be okay if I share the screen?
Yep, that's fine. If you could just please email it to us so we can include it in the project folder.
Thank you.
Just make this full screen. Great. Let me just. So right now, Caitlin, that bottom floor bumps out. So we're proposing to infill the back because these units are tiny as they stand now. So it would be to infill that rear. So where you can see this, Eric laid it out here, but that's with every floor.
And the back bumps out. It's not quite as wide as the front. So there's like a small side yard. Would that be infilled as well?
Eric, do you want to touch upon that?
There'll still be about a 3 to 3.5 foot wide kind of zone, all the way to the back of the property, and I'm pretty sure.
Got it. Thank you.
I gotta revisit that because as you're seeing in the rendering here, we were looking at the exiting, and we might be pulling it closer now. Let me check my drawing. I don't want to leave you hanging here. There's still on the ground floor a setback on all the way across, but on the upper floors, we do bring that stair right close to the property line, about a foot from the property line.
Okay, so just so I can visualize it, first floor, there would still be like almost like a patio, but it would be covered with the next 3
with the levels above that, correct?
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful. And then my next question, that one was already answered. You answered that one. You mentioned it being 41 feet 8 inches. Is that about the same size? Do you know how tall Haynes is? The new one that just went up?
I don't. I think it's pretty similar in height.
Tell you in a few seconds, but it'll take me a few seconds.
Okay. I can also look it up because
I tried to keep it as low as possible on height. And
as you can imagine, like when I bought the place 2 years ago, I had a water view and a lot, so it's coming really close. in the backyard. I also just want to
There's some noise coming in the background that I'm not sure where it's coming from, because I have
Sorry.
everybody muted that may be, okay, go ahead.
Not that there's anything wrong with the modern look in and of itself, but something that's more in line the way Haynes was a little more in line with the rest of the neighborhood, knowing that that particular building is a really flat building, but something with that's less modern and a little bit more reflecting the neighborhood would be awesome. I know we'll talk through details at some point, but just wanted to echo that.
And probably also the fact that the first floor on the Haynes building is parking, not a unit. So it benefits having it be higher than in this situation, would be my comment. Caitlin, if I could just ask you to wrap up. We do have one other person that has a question, and we're running short on time, so I don't mean to pressure you, but
Absolutely. Parking during construction, that would be something that'd be super, and noise, construction noise would be just two things that'd be important to me if we do a neighborhood plan.
Sure.
If we could do an 8 a.m. start instead of a 7 a.m. start, like, make the world of difference to me. And then we can talk about like details of that as we get closer.
And Tom's also a builder. He's built a lot of projects, condos in East Boston and across the city. So, in his own development. So he would be intricately involved and on the site every day. So I think, and we're open, we've done this, he's done this a bunch of times and worked directly with the abutters on things like leasing space during the time for vehicles, working around hours that work for folks.
What's Tom's last name? Because I might have actually already worked with him.
Falcucci. I'm not sure. He's on the call as well, but
different.
And he lives in East Boston as well. He lives on Power Street.
Great. Thank you. That's very helpful. And I'm sure we'll talk more in an hour.
Great. Thank you for your comments, Kayla.
okay. And just to reiterate what Jeff mentioned is that there is a being held by Office of Neighborhood Services. There is an abutters meeting for this project that begins at 8 o'clock, which is another reason why we're trying to speed this along so that people can see the other one. There is one other person that has a question, Diane Tubner, if you'd like to go.
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm on the first floor at 116. I'm a tenant of Michael and Jay. And everyone, Michael, Jay, and Caitlin pretty much asked most of my questions, but can you talk a little bit about the 2.5-foot overhang you're going to do the second, third, fourth floors on the side yard? It looked like from the drawings it's going to stick out 2.5 feet.
Eric, you want to touch on?
Yes, I was on mute. Yeah. So basically, one of the things we want to do to make the building safer is that there will be in this design, there will be a stair that comes down the back of the building, creating a second means of egress for each of the units. When it gets to the ground floor, it needs a path to get to the sidewalk. And so you see this more in Beacon Hill than you do in East Boston, but it's a Boston thing where there'll be kind of a narrow path, a 3-foot wide path that extends from the rear stair to the sidewalk to allow people to leave. And it also creates part of that plaza that we had, or patio area that we had talked about a second ago. So above that, and basically what you'll see from the front is probably a bit of a gateway or a gate, and then a pathway kind of leading along the side of the building that's only 1 story tall that gets to that rear stair. And it's meant to, it's a safety thing to bring bring the rear stair users to the front of the building.
Okay, I guess my point was that even though you're keeping the side patio size the same, the floors above will be coming that much closer to our building. In terms
will be
of
closer to your building, yes, correct.
Yes. And I noticed that, so I was looking at the utility pole that is in the middle there, and I was wondering what kind of mitigations. I know that's where my Comcast is situated. There's a lot of stuff on that pole, and how does that process work?
in front of our building?
No, in the back, between
Oh.
Caitlin's and this
The
property and
rear
our
one.
property. Yeah, there's a big utility
Yeah.
pole. Yeah,
We
and it
always
looks
have
like
to-
that will, like, it looks almost to me, and I'm not quite sure if it is the case, but the measurement might actually butt up against that pole.
So if there was any I mean, obviously, there's times when utilities have to be completely reworked, but that would be at all of our expenses. So Comcast or Electric will not allow any project to go forward unless everyone is serviced with all of those needs. So it would be at our expense to either find an alternate location and work with both Electric, Eversource or Comcast to get a spot that works. So, that would be on us, but we'll certainly go out there and actually see and measure exactly where this building with the addition would lie in terms of that pole.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Diane. And we do need to respect the time for the next project, so we do need to move on. However, I think that it would be worthwhile to like in the notes that I've got in my head, which will definitely follow up with you, Jeff, is if we could get a shadow study. I know Mike feels as though he knows exactly what's going to happen here, but it would like to be able to see how it affects other properties as well. And then also, if we could, the screen that we're looking at right now, if we could see that from possibly the other side, so that we're looking at it from the angle where you can see the gap in between those two buildings that are existing. So like, for example, forgive me for the number, is it 116 that is to the right of it? Yes, correct. Yeah. So like between your building and 116, it would be nice to be able to see it from the opposite side. Just to kind of gauge that, and in addition to the shadow study, but we'll send you a more formal request for the next B and Z. But we do need to move on to the next one.
I will stop sharing.
Sorry, all the questions. There was one question in the chat, but it was already answered. So, and so we'll go ahead and move on to 49 Jeffries Street.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Hi, everyone.
And Lorraine, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to cover for Richie
Looking for
tonight.
Richie.
Oh, you get me tonight.
Go ahead.
Long time no see.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you want me just to start?
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Laureen Scatino covering for Richard Lynds tonight. I'm another attorney that works in his office here tonight for the first meeting for 49 Jeffries Street. If we could go to the next slide. It's a relatively straightforward project. This is the renovation to an existing 2-unit dwelling, and it would essentially just extend the living space of the first unit, which encloses a deck, and there's no change in the occupancy. So there's essentially an outdoor deck that will be enclosed to allow for a better living area to unit 1. Next slide, please. Just a quick overview showing the area that we're discussing and that it's in a 3F 2000 neighborhood. But as I discussed, we're not changing the occupancy. Next slide. Just showing it's outside the flood zone. Next slide. And just a quick site context of where 49 Jeffries would be, but I'm sure everybody's pretty familiar, so you can keep going through. Next slide. Just showing the building we're discussing. Just different views of the building. So right now, this is our very first meeting with the JPNA subcommittee. We would anticipate an abutters meeting. I'm working on that with the mayor's office, and I should have that date secured relatively soon. I think we were looking at November 8th, but that hasn't been 100% confirmed yet. Once that goes out, it will be the typical process of notifying the abutters all within 300 feet, and the mayor's office will run that meeting. We would anticipate, depending on how this meeting goes, essentially coming to the JPNA full meeting next month if possible. And then we would just anticipate a zoning board of appeal hearing sometime in December or January. Because this would need to go to the zoning board of appeal, it would likely be subject to BPDA design review, permits issuing in the spring of 24, and a very quick construction turnaround with 3 to 6 months. Next slide, please. So if you could just keep going. So this is just the site plan showing where the proposed addition would be. It's essentially not even an addition because there is already rear decks back there. You can go to the next page, please. The left side that you're looking at is the first floor, which is the existing, which is a bedroom, a bathroom, a living room, and a kitchen, showing the decks off the back. The proposed would be a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, a dining area, and a living room, and a smaller deck off the back, just allowing them just a little bit more of living space within their unit. Next slide. And again, just showing the rear views of what this would look like. Next page. And all the way to this is showing the proposed addition enclosed, and then the decks on top. So what we would need relief from is FAR, because we are increasing from 1.33 to 1.44 by enclosing that deck. There's really no change to the side yard. We're already at 1 foot and then 5 inches, so it'd be just enclosing what's already existing there. And as well as the rear yard, essentially really no change. And the open space, because we would be enclosing a deck, it would trigger an open space violation.
Okay. Actually, Susan, if you wouldn't mind putting that back up. Sorry. Am I talking? It's Susan, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Can you go back to, yeah, one more. So, hold on. Go, yeah, right there. What I'm
These are the
confused-
existing elevations.
Okay, thank you. I was assuming that, but I wasn't 100% sure. Okay.
The next page is the proposed.
Okay, go one. There we go. Okay. All right, I understand. So basically you're not extending past the living space past the current deck that's there. However, you will be extending the deck out.
The deck would essentially go out, and some of the stairways would have to go down just to be able to connect the exits from the second unit and everything.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so just there's a new bulkhead under the stair and rebuild the stair to the second floor deck. So it outlines it right there all the way to the left.
Okay.
If I could move my yeah, she's circling the.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Josh, go ahead. Another board member has a question.
Hey, yeah, sorry, my camera isn't working today. It's because I got through Google Chrome. Anyway, but yeah, I live right around this area. Not a direct abutter, but definitely within the 300-foot range. So my concern is really about the construction. That's a very tight space. Jeffries Street in particular there is very tight. In terms of construction, are you going to need any sort of permitting for a dumpster or anything? It's a smaller project, but
It's a smaller project, so my guess would be that they would be able to handle that in like a dump truck coming for initial takeouts at the end. It would be a really quick turnaround as far as any demo goes, and it wouldn't really be a lot of materials.
Okay. And then
but we can, we can discuss that. There's different ways to handle any debris from any construction. So whether that be the dumpster or sometimes what they do in the tight spots rather than takeaway parking is just have daily pickups.
Yeah. And Josh, you probably realize, they're building something new here. They're not like, they're not demoing it like an existing building. So there'll probably be way less trash.
It's going to be minimal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. If it's kept internally or within it, that's fine. And yeah.
And will the homeowner be living there while this happens, or how is that? Do you know?
Olivia, I believe, is on.
Hi, I'm the homeowner. There's a couple different options for me. My parents and my boyfriend are both on the call as well, and so there's some alternate plans if I need to be somewhere. But I live and work in the city, so I prefer to be here, but have other options available if need be. But my upstairs neighbors are also on the call, and we've discussed it at length. And I hope that it works out well.
And I'm assuming obviously the other owners in the building are all okay with you doing this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're fabulous. They're wonderful, and
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
great neighbors, and yeah.
Okay. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Is there anyone else? I see a thumbs up from Sally. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else who has a question? Feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and start speaking. Even if it's just a, it doesn't have to be in opposition. Anything positive to say about the project, you're welcome to say that as well. Okay. So that is actually.
Yeah, this is.
Oh, go ahead, Charlie. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my camera is also having a little fun, so I wish I could join you on video, but I'm Olivia's boyfriend. I just wanted to speak kind of, in favor of the project. I mean, definitely kind of seeing the space there, can use any extra kind of square footage. It's a pretty tight space, and I think just having a little bit more of that will make it more accessible for us to enjoy the area and the neighborhood, and kind of just add options of kind of what we can do with the space right now. It's pretty tight, even just to kind of have a sofa in there and enjoy it as a living room as it is. So that'll add just some space to set up a couch or a desk or something like that, and make it a little bit more accessible to enjoy.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Last call.
Andrew, I just had a quick question. Is this something that could probably get, if we send over the refusal, is this something that could probably just get scheduled for the November?
We typically talk about this after the meeting,
Okay.
but in the grand scheme of things, I would assume so, yes, but we'll let you know formally afterwards.
Thank you.
Okay, as long as there's no one else, it looks like we are actually at the end of our meeting, so that one went quick. We appreciate everyone's time, and thank you very much for joining. Have a great night, everyone.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you for your time.
Board members will be remaining behind, so if you could please make sure you log out, that'd be great.
Andrew, I have raw pork on my hands. Can you log me out? Can you kick me out?
Who is saying that, Joanna? I was just about to log you out anyways. Don't worry. It would have happened by itself.
TMI.
Bye. I have raw pork on my hands. That's a first. Okay. Hold on. I got one more person to go here. All right. Dennis, are you hanging out, or are you, did you, you have it? Yeah, no, absolutely. Did you have any comments or anything you wanted to fill us in on, or?
Oh, don't forget to stop the recording.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I always forget that. Don't talk yet. Don't talk yet, Dennis. Hold on. Where do I do that?